It started with a single photograph, blurry, taken from across the street, but enough to send the internet into chaos. Dakota Johnson, dressed in an oversized coat, walking quickly through the streets of Los Angeles. Her hand instinctively resting on her stomach. Within hours, headlines screamed across every corner of the internet. Dakota Johnson expecting? Jamie Dornan seen days before in the same area. The rumors came roaring back, louder than ever. It had been years since 50 Shades of Grey, yet somehow, Jamie and Dakota's names refused to drift apart. Every few months, a new story would emerge. A reunion dinner, a secret message, a longing glance on a red carpet. But this time, the speculation was different. This time, it was about a child. At first, both remained silent. Jamie was in Ireland, filming a new series, while Dakota kept a low profile in Los Angeles. The tabloids, however, didn't need confirmation. They already had their headline: Jamie Dornan's hidden affair finally exposed. It wasn't the first time rumors had threatened to break him, but this time, it cut deeper. He had worked for years to rebuild his image, to be known not as Christian Grey, not as Dakota's shadow, but as Jamie Dornan. Husband, father, artist. And now, one photo threatened to undo all of it. His wife, Amelia Warner, was reportedly stunned but composed. The press dissected every move she made, the ring on her finger, her absence from events, even her facial expressions at a charity gala. Amelia stays silent, one outlet wrote, but her silence speaks volumes. Meanwhile, online forums filled with speculation. Fans divided into camps. Those convinced the baby was Jamie's, and those defending him fiercely. "They've always shared something deeper," one fan wrote. "You could see it in their eyes, that kind." By the time Jamie returned from filming, the story had reached its. But everything changed a week later. Jamie appeared on a podcast, a quiet, intimate setting, meant to promote his new. "Jamie, I know this is personal, but there are a lot of rumors right now about Dakota Johnson, about her being pregnant. People are saying, you might be the father. Do you want to say anything about that?" The room fell silent. Jamie leaned back, his hands clasped, eyes distant. The host waited, unsure if he just crossed a line. Then Jamie spoke, slowly, carefully. Each word felt deliberate, as if weighed before being released. "You know," he began, "for years people have made up their own version of what Dakota and I are. I've stayed quiet because it never felt worth correcting. But this time, I think I should say something." The host leaned closer. Jamie's voice dropped lower. "There's a lot of truth in what's being said," he admitted. "And yes, she's carrying my child." The host froze. The crew stopped moving. The sentence hung in the air, heavy and unbelievable. Within minutes, clips of that moment began to circulate online. The internet went nuclear. "Jamie confirms it. He said it himself, my child." Fans screamed, news outlets crashed, and social media melted into pure chaos. No more doubts. No more speculation. The man himself had spoken. Amelia Warner reportedly left her home that evening, refusing to comment to paparazzi. Dakota's team went silent. Every talk show, every gossip column, every entertainment outlet in the world replayed the audio again and again. And yet, those who listened closely noticed something strange about Jamie's tone. It wasn't proud, or reckless, or even romantic. It was quiet, sad, almost, like a man confessing something far more complicated than the headlines would allow. That night, the world didn't sleep. Some called it betrayal, others called it destiny. But one thing was certain: Jamie Dornan had just spoken the words that no one ever thought he would say. "Yes, she's carrying my child." The meaning behind those words, however, was far from what anyone imagined. Because the truth, the real truth, was much deeper than anyone was ready to hear. By morning, the world had already decided what Jamie Dornan's words meant. He confirmed it, screamed every headline. TV hosts debated timelines, body language, motives. Paparazzi camped outside Dakota Johnson's home. Her team refused to comment, and Amelia Warner's name trended for hours, with speculation about heartbreak and betrayal. To the public, the story was simple. The forbidden romance had finally surfaced, and the truth was scandal. But the truth, as always, was quieter, and far more complicated. When the full interview aired later that evening, the missing context stunned everyone. After that now infamous line, "Yes, she's carrying my child," Jamie had paused for a long moment before adding softly, "Not in the way people think." Most outlets had cut the clip right before those words. But those who listened to the full version heard something else entirely. A confession not of scandal, but of love, loyalty, and gratitude. In the unedited recording, Jamie went on. "Dakota's been a part of my life for more than a decade. We went through something few people will ever understand. The fame, the pressure, the chaos, it changes you. She helped me survive that. So when I heard she was expecting, I felt this overwhelming sense of protection. It's not about biology, it's about connection. I'll always see her child as part of me because she'll always be part of my story." The host sat frozen. The meaning was clear. Jamie hadn't confessed to fatherhood, he'd confessed to emotional kinship. But by then, it was too late. The world had already made up its mind. Still, Jamie refused to clarify. "I said what I meant," he told his publicist. "People can hear it how they want." That night, Amelia finally spoke. She didn't issue a statement or hold a press conference. Instead, she posted a single sentence on her Instagram story. "The truth often sounds like love, even when people want it to sound like betrayal." It was graceful, almost painfully dignified. Fans flooded her comments with admiration, calling her a queen of composure. Behind the calm, however, those close to the family said Amelia had been deeply shaken, not by what Jamie said, but by how easily the world twisted it. "She's used to the rumors," one source said. "But this one felt different. This one hurt." Meanwhile, Dakota herself stayed silent for several days. Cameras followed her everywhere, from her home to the studio lot, to the doctor's office. Every image was scrutinized, every gesture analyzed. But when she finally did speak, her words were as unexpected as Jamie's. During a virtual interview promoting her upcoming film, a journalist brought up the storm directly. "Dakota, do you want to clear up what Jamie said?" She smiled faintly, shaking her head. "There's nothing to clear up," she said. "Jamie spoke from his heart. And in some ways, he's right." The interviewer looked stunned. "So, it's true?" Dakota's expression softened. "It's true that he's part of my life. That we share a bond most people wouldn't understand. But this baby is mine, and it's from my life now. Jamie he cares. Maybe too much sometimes." Her answer silenced the chaos. It wasn't scandal. It was affection, loyalty, history. Later that evening, a new clip of Jamie resurfaced, one the tabloids had ignored. In it, he smiled sadly as he added, "I think when you share something as intense as we did, part of you always feels responsible for the other person. People can twist that however they want. But my truth? I'll always want the best for her, and for her child." The frenzy began to die down. Slowly, the headlines softened. What began as a scandal turned into something surprisingly human. Two people who had shared extraordinary circumstances, bound not by romance, but by a quiet, lasting care. One entertainment host summed it up best: he wasn't claiming fatherhood. He was claiming humanity. A few days later, Dakota was photographed leaving a cafe, visibly pregnant, smiling. When asked by a reporter if she had heard Jamie's latest comments, she simply said, "Of course I did," then paused before adding, "He's family, in his own way." And with that, the story finally began to fade. For once, Jamie didn't chase the narrative. He didn't correct or clarify further. He just went home, to his wife, to his daughters, to the quiet life he'd built. Those close to him said he seemed lighter, almost relieved. "It's strange," he told a friend. "People thought I was confessing guilt. But really, I was confessing peace." Weeks later, when asked if he regretted the chaos his words caused, Jamie smiled and said, "Not at all. Sometimes honesty creates noise before it brings silence." but silence was all I ever wanted. And maybe that was the truest confession of all. Because in a world addicted to drama, Jamie Dornan hadn't declared scandal, he had declared compassion. And in doing so, he reminded everyone that love doesn't always need a label. Sometimes, it's just the courage to say, she's family. That's my child, because she's part of me. No more doubts. No more denial. Just truth. The quiet kind that doesn't break hearts, but heals them.